Over the last financial year, I turned over £279,294, approximately $373,103, despite technically working less days than I did in the last financial year. In this video, I'm going to break down how and where I made that money, highest and lowest day rates, passive income, and after all of that, where the net profit, the amount left after all my expenses before tax, stacked up against previous years. My name is Scott Peters, a director, more frequently cinematographer, and as you will see in this video, someone who plays an awful lot of other roles too. Yet another year has already been and gone, and I'd like to once again start by saying this is not intended as any sort of brag. I know for a lot of the industry at this current time, some of this may be upsetting or triggering. So if you've had a tough time with work over the last year or so, please don't watch this if it's going to cause you any emotional distress. We're all on our own path. Every year is totally different. And for those of you that have seen some of my older videos, you'll know my earnings have varied greatly over the years. This video is an attempt at some transparency around a subject that I've always found difficult to learn about in the industry myself. My 14th full official year as a working filmmaker, but I've been making videos of some level for 25 years from when I first picked up a camera. Just to give you some context on where I'm at career-wise. The numbers, the rates, the days, and more. As is now becoming tradition, let's break this year down into the many different roles that I played in order to make up my earnings. In this, my most successful financial year to date. Director, what I publicize myself as, what I should be doing the most work as. This year, I made an income total of £43,920, and I worked just 18 and a half days, with my top day rate as a director coming out at £5,000. Actual days work, though, if you follow my channel, you'll know directors often only get paid for the shoot days. So despite it being listed as just 18 and a half working days, the actual number is probably more between 40 and 50 working days, including the prep time and the pitching time, etc. Cinematographer. I worked a total of just 8 days as solely a cinematographer, earning £8,740 total, with my top day rate being what was APA at the time in the year of doing, of £1,388. Director DP. These are jobs, not videographer jobs, but jobs where I am on set, both directing and playing the role of cinematographer. And this was by far my highest earning category this year. He says, double checking his other categories. Yeah, by far my highest earning category this year. The total number of days I worked, unofficially, is 27 days. But again, as we know, it can be a bit more than that. But my income total was £94,527. My top day rate was my best day rate that I've ever got, and that was £9,000, which sounds like a load of money, and it is a load of money. But let me just quickly remind you again that the day rate is covering more than just a day that you're shooting. If you're good at maths and you're looking at these numbers, you might think I averaged a £3,501 day rate as a directing DP. But when I tot up the actual amount of days worked, approximately 54 days looking through the things that I'd listed in my calendar, it's more like £1,750, 50 pence as a day rate, which, don't get me wrong, is a fantastic day rate, but not nearly as outrageous as some might think when they see the overall numbers. Videographer. I worked just the one solo videographer gig this year. Arguably, I worked 2 videographer gigs, but one of them had some assistants. So I'm calling it just the one videographer gig with an income total of £2,914, shooting just one day and traveling for 2 days. I made a video about that recently, with my top day rate being £1,457, which is the top rate for an APA commercial cinematographer. Producer. I did some more days producing this year than I did last. Not through any want to, it just ended up happening on a couple of jobs. I totaled an income of £4,821 as a producer, working 9.5 days, with my top day rate being £508. Worth mentioning that on one of the jobs, I ended up playing the role of production company here, less the markup. So a lot of money went through my account to pay other people and cover rental costs, which equates for a nice chunk of that turnover. As an editor, I edited a lot less this year, not including the YouTube videos, you're welcome, but making an income total of £37,523 over a total of 57.2 days, with my top day rate being £800, and that really was £800, averaging approximately £100, slightly under an hour. Writer, a new one for the financial year ending April 2025. I now have a writing credit. This is a weird one to work out because it was bundled in with a lot of directing and editing work in a project that is still ongoing. But as a writer, I worked out I made a total of £5,200 over approximately 8 days, but it's arguably quite a bit more than that because there's been lots of emails and messages about lines and paragraphs on ad hoc days, with my top day rate being £650. I think a lot of writers would say that's pretty good. But again, bundled in with my directing and editing fees. So tricky one to work out. Another new role for this year, or at least I think it's a new role. Maybe I've done it once before. Can't really remember if I listed it. I was asked to and charged for some consultancy work where I went and sat with an in-house team for 2 days plus a half day's worth of prep, talking about gear, helping them level up their lighting skills, how I approach editing, etc., etc. If you want me to consult for your in-house team, it will cost you a lot more than this. But my income total was £3,350 for that, for someone who I have a long-standing relationship with. Passive income, my favorite sector of making your money. And as we all know, passive income's never truly passive because there's so many things you have to do to set it up in the first place. But this year I made some royalties, and I have made royalties in previous years off of a television show that I directed back in 2019 now. But I didn't actually make any royalties off of that show this year. This year I made royalties off of a passion project, a documentary that I made in, I don't know when I made it, but ages ago, like filmed it in maybe 2018. Spent way too many years chipping away editing it. The guys who featured in it, I left it to them to submit to festivals. And out of the 3 festivals they submitted it to, we got into 2 of them. One of them didn't pay anything, but the other one was licensed to go on tour for around about, I think it was 5 and a bit thousand euros or something like that, which when you convert to pounds is a bit less. And because when we originally did the shoot, even though it was my professional unpaid time filming for those 7 days with all my kit, and it was my professional unpaid time editing and sound mixing and pulling in favors for the grade over weeks and weeks over several years, the guys did upfront the cost of my travel and stuff when we shot it, which was, I can't remember how much total it was, but it was probably circa £1,000 or something, because there was like car rental, flights and luggage for the equipment, and they paid for my food. So when this money opportunity came through, I said I'd split the fee with them 50-50, because I am nice like that. Maybe you won't think I'm nice, maybe I should have been more generous, but I did put in a lot of unpaid hours. For £1,806 is what ended up in my bank account for To the Sea, which has just finished its European film run and a very niche outdoor adventure film festival. Other ways, more traditional ways that I made passive income is in rental money, person to person. This wasn't Fat Llama. I didn't rent one single thing on Fat Llama, but I did rent a few things to some friends in the industry that have insurance. I made £475 off of some people I know, and I gave out, I don't know how much, but like literally thousands in freebies to people I work with or colleagues, friends, mentees. Direct rentals. This is kit that I had with me on jobs. That might be as simple as matte box, monitors, my camera, my lighting, my lenses. I've got a lot of kit these days. I don't know what the total for the amount of money that I spent on kit over the last 5-6 years is, but it's probably in the 6 figures. And from those investments, I made this year £21,430 of things I took on jobs with me. Again, this was all at highly discounted rates. Like if that was coming from a rental house, even with their discounted rates, it would have probably been substantially more than that, 35, 40 grand, maybe more, based off of the cheaper rental houses I know. But I'm trying to make good stuff with smaller and smaller budgets. So, we do what we do. Stock footage. Last year, I made this much with stock footage. This year, I sold nothing. Not a single clip. I don't have that many clips, but I didn't sell any of them. So, £23,711 somewhat passively. Again, nothing's ever truly passive. There was a lot of prep, maintenance, and handover time with all of the rental-related stuff. I gave up a cumulatively outrageous amount of weeks, turning into months on the passion project, Dog. But it was a while ago, so that share of the fee does feel like a win. Kind of like when you find £10 in your back pocket that you forgot that you had, even though it was yours in the first place. As always, there's a couple of anomalies I haven't included here, as well as all my excessive costs that come associated with being a filmmaker, including outside of insurances and everything, lens service, multiple £400 plus battery replacements for batteries that have lasted less than 3 years. And as in previous years, I can't stress enough that this is not money that's just sat in my account. I have nothing like this in cash. I absolutely hemorrhage money in taxes, van upkeep, accountancy costs. And although I'm trying to spend less, I have still continued to invest in new equipment over the last year. But after the cost of sales and admin, in the accountancy year ending April 2025, I made a net profit of £195,101. My best year as a freelance filmmaker ever. And I technically worked less this year, 131.7, so we'll call it 132 days comparatively to last year's 180 days worked. But with a lot of those as much better rates as a director who also often DPs. But also remember, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but as a director, or at least on the directing side of things, you are not billing for a lot of the hours you work. So the more you work, the thinner your paycheck gets. And there's quite a few jobs in there where that paycheck would have been me earning a lot less than the crew on the job. But then there's the ones where I earn £9,000 for a day, which, despite all the other days, still meant that I would have earned the most out of anyone on that shoot, other than the production company and arguably the agency. And the owner of the motion control, actually. They would have made the most money on that shoot. So there's a lot of people making more money on the shoot than I was. But out of the crew, I would have made, out of the crew bar kit that they own, I would have made the most money on that job. So all in, we're looking at roughly 185 days worked at a conservative estimate, which does not include unpaid pitching days for jobs that I didn't win, of course, of which there were plenty. I spoke about burnout in last year's review video. And based on the amount of messages I received personally from you after posting, it looks like it resonated with a lot of you. It really is feast or famine in this industry, isn't it? Whilst I managed to catch myself before bursting into tears on my own in the park in East London on a Friday night this year, as the end of the year approached, I could feel myself becoming irritable and more sensitive. I know some people do just get more irritable with age, but I also knew these were my burnout warning signs. So at the time of making this video, I'm in the middle of a 3-week off period. I had to say no to 2 job opportunities to do this, just to sit at home, work on my life admin list, and spend much more time in the garden. I know I'm very fortunate to be able to afford to say no to work. And I know I'm even more fortunate to actually have the opportunity of work to say no to. But I just want you watching to know that behind some serious cash are some taxing work hours and mental challenges. Will this be the year the industry finally collapses? It would be nice to not live in a state of flux for a few years at least, wouldn't it? Join me next year as I try really, really hard to say no to work even more. Watch this video next for more career money insights. And if you still haven't, make sure to subscribe for more semi-helpful tips and interesting insider industry knowledge.